The morning sun rose over the distant mountains, casting long shadows across the alien landscape of terraformed Colony 7. Park Do-hyun wiped sweat from his forehead as he walked through the tall blue grass. He was a botanist, a plant scientist, who came to this far planet to study new types of plants that could not be found on Earth. Today, Do-hyun ventured farther from the colony than usual. The colony leaders did not like when people went this far alone, but Do-hyun had heard about rare flowers that grew near the crystal lakes in the Eastern Valley. He carried his sample kit, a water bottle, and a small device that could call for help if he needed it. Just a bit farther, he said to himself, climbing over a ridge of smooth purple stones. When he reached the top, he saw the lakes spread out below him like mirrors, but something else caught his eye. A flash of movement near a cluster of rocks. Do-hyun frowned and pulled out his field glasses. Through the lenses, he saw it clearly. A creature lay on its side, its body rising and falling with shallow breaths. Even from this distance, Do-hyun could see dark liquid, probably blood, staining the ground around it. Colony rules were very clear. Do not touch unknown alien animals. Do not interfere. But Do-hyun had never been good at watching suffering without trying to help. He slid down the rocky slope and approached slowly. The creature was unlike anything he had seen before. About the size of a large dog, it had 6 limbs and was covered in scales that shifted color like oil on water. 2 of its limbs were bent at wrong angles, and a deep cut ran down its side. "Hey there," Do-hyun said softly, though he knew the creature couldn't understand him. "I'm not going to hurt you." The beast's eyes opened, 3 of them arranged in a triangle on its face. They glowed with a soft blue light, focusing on Do-hyun with clear intelligence. It tried to move away but fell back with a sound like a whistle mixed with a groan. Do-hyun knelt down just out of reach. "You're badly hurt. I can help if you'll let me." For several minutes, they watched each other. The creature's breathing grew more labored. Finally, Do-hyun decided to risk it. He opened his sample kit and took out clean cloths and a small bottle of water. "This might sting," he warned, gently cleaning the worst wound. To his surprise, the creature stayed still, its eyes never leaving his face. As he worked, Do-hyun noticed something strange. A small metal object embedded under the scales near the creature's neck. It looked like technology, not something natural. "What are you?" he whispered. "And what happened to you?" The creature made a soft trilling sound. Do-hyun finished cleaning the wounds, but knew the beast needed more help than he could give here. Making a quick decision that he knew might cost him his job, Do-hyun removed his outer jacket and carefully wrapped it around the injured animal. "I'm taking you home," he said. "My research station is hidden enough. No one needs to know you're there." Lifting the creature was harder than he expected. It was heavy, and he had to be careful not to hurt it more. But finally, he had it cradled against his chest. The beast relaxed in his arms, its eyes dimming slightly. As Do-hyun began the long walk back, taking a path that would avoid the main colony, he had no idea what he had just found. He didn't know that across the galaxy, alarms were already sounding. He couldn't know that the creature in his arms belonged to one of the most powerful and dangerous people in the galactic hegemony. He only knew that something needed his help, and that was enough for him. The sun began to set as Do-hyun reached his small research station on the edge of the colony, carrying a secret that would soon change his life forever. Do-hyun's research station was small but private. It sat hidden among tall trees at the edge of the colony. Inside, he cleared his work table and gently placed the injured creature down. Under the bright lights, he could see how bad the wounds really were. "You poor thing," he whispered. The creature's breathing was fast and shallow. 2 of its 6 limbs were broken, and the deep cut on its side still leaked a strange blue-green liquid. Do-hyun had studied some animal care during his school days. He wasn't a doctor, but he knew enough to help. He gathered his first aid kit, clean towels, and a bowl of warm water. The creature watched him with its 3 glowing eyes, not moving but clearly alert. "I'm going to try to fix your broken limbs first," Do-Yun said. He worked slowly and carefully, setting the strange bones and making splints from thin pieces of wood. The creature made soft trilling sounds, but did not fight him. Next, he cleaned the deep cut more thoroughly. "This needs to be closed," he said, using a medical tool from his kit. He carefully sealed the wound. The creature flinched but remained still. As Do-Yun worked, he noticed more about the strange metal object in the creature's neck. It was small and round with tiny blinking lights. It looked like a tracking device. "Is someone looking for you?" he asked. The creature seemed to understand. It made a low, sad sound and tried to reach for the device with one of its good limbs. Do-Yun frowned. "You want this out, don't you?" He studied the device carefully. It seemed to be just under the skin, not deep into the creature's body. Making a quick decision, Do-Yun took a small tool and very carefully removed the device. It came out easily, leaving only a small wound that he quickly closed. The creature relaxed visibly. Its eyes glowed a bit brighter. "There. Now no one can track you," Do-Yun said, placing the device in a metal box. "I'll keep it safe here." The creature needed food and rest. Do-Yun wasn't sure what it ate, so he brought out several options: fruits, protein bars, and some dried meat. To his surprise, the creature chose the fruits, eating slowly but with clear hunger. "I'll call you Sora," Do-Yun decided. "It means sky in my language. Your scales remind me of the sky at sunset." That night, Do-Yun made a soft bed for Sora near his own. He stayed awake long after the creature fell asleep, watching its chest rise and fall. What was it? Where had it come from? And who had heard it? Days passed. Do-Yun kept Sora hidden, telling no one about his new friend. Each day, the creature grew stronger. Its wounds healed faster than Do-Yun expected. By the 5th day, Sora could move around the small station, exploring everything with curious eyes. Do-Yun noticed that Sora was remarkably smart. It seemed to understand when he spoke, even learning to respond to simple commands like "come" and "stay." It could open doors and containers, and showed interest in Do-Yun's books and computer. One evening, as they shared dinner, Sora did something that shocked Do-Yun. While looking directly into his eyes, the creature sent an image into his mind, a clear picture of the fruit it wanted from across the room. Do-Yun dropped his fork. "Did you just talk to me?" "In my head." Sora made a happy trilling sound. Its eyes glowed brighter, and another image appeared in Do-Yun's mind, this time of Sora and Do-Yun walking together outside. "You're telepathic," Do-Yun whispered in wonder. "You can share your thoughts." This changed everything. Sora wasn't just an animal. It was intelligent, perhaps even sentient. A real person. What Do-Yun didn't know was that far above the planet, a large ship had just entered orbit. On board was Baroness Kim Ju-woo, come to find her missing pet. And she was not happy. The starship Golden Crown hung in orbit above Terraform Colony 7. It was huge and gleaming, shaped like a crescent moon. This was no ordinary ship. It belonged to Baroness Kim Ju-woo, one of the most powerful people in the galactic hegemony. Inside the main room of the ship, the Baroness paced back and forth. She was tall and thin, dressed in flowing robes of deep red. Her face was beautiful but cold, and her eyes were hard. 6 days, she said, her voice sharp like ice. 6 days since my sentinel went missing, and still you have found nothing. The ship's crew stood silent, afraid to speak. Only one man stepped forward, Li Minjae, the Baroness's chief enforcer. He was broad-shouldered and had a scar across his left cheek. "My lady," he said with a bow, "we have narrowed the search to this colony. The tracking signal was last detected in the Eastern Valley before it went silent." The Baroness stopped pacing. "Silent? You mean it was turned off? Or removed," Li said, "which would require someone with knowledge of our technology." The Baroness's eyes flashed with anger. "Find who did this. Offer a reward so large that even friends would betray each other. Lee nodded and left to carry out her orders. Alone, the Baroness walked to a large window and looked down at the planet. Her sentinel was not just a pet. It was a rare creature, one of only 5 in the entire galaxy. Scientists had spent years creating them, mixing DNA from many species and adding special abilities. Most importantly, the sentinel could increase her own natural mental powers. Without it, she felt weak, almost blind. With it, she could read minds, influence thoughts, and see glimpses of the future. "Who dares take what is mine?" she whispered. Down on the planet, news of the Baroness's visit spread quickly through the colony. People were nervous. The hegemony rarely paid attention to small human colonies unless something was wrong. In the main colony building, Administrator Han Yunji read the official message from the Baroness's ship. It was a simple announcement. A valuable creature had gone missing during the Baroness's last visit. Anyone with information would be richly rewarded. Anyone hiding information would be severely punished. Han frowned. She was a practical woman with short gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. She had led the colony for 15 years and knew trouble when she saw it. "How valuable is this creature?" she asked the messenger. "Worth more than this entire colony," the man replied. "It is a sentinel, a companion to the Baroness. There are only 5 in existence." Han nodded slowly. "I see. And what does this creature look like?" The messenger showed her a hologram. Han's eyes widened slightly as she saw the 6-limbed creature with shifting scales and 3 eyes. "We will of course help in any way we can," she said calmly. After the messenger left, Han sat at her desk, thinking. She had known Do-Yun since he was a child. His parents had been friends of hers. Last week, he had missed the regular botanist meeting, claiming he was busy with a new plant discovery. Han trusted her instincts, and her instincts told her that Do-Yun might be involved somehow. She stood up and walked to the window. The Baroness's ship cast a shadow over the colony like a bad omen. This was dangerous. The Baroness had a reputation for cruelty. If she believed someone had stolen her pet, Han made a decision. She would warn Do-Yun, not because she approved of whatever he might have done, but because she protected her people. Always. Meanwhile, in his hidden research station, Do-Yun and Sora were unaware of the storm coming their way. Sora had just shown Do-Yun another mental image, this one of stars and distant planets, perhaps its home. "You've traveled far, haven't you?" Do-Yun said softly. "I wonder where you came from." Sora's eyes glowed warmly as it placed one of its healing limbs gently on Do-Yun's hand. 2 weeks had passed since Do-Yun found Sora. The creature's healing was amazing. Its broken limbs were now almost fully healed, and the deep cut on its side had closed without a scar. Sora moved around the research station with grace, its scales shifting through beautiful colors when it was happy. Do-Yun sat at his desk, writing notes about a new plant he had found. Sora watched him from across the room, its 3 eyes glowing softly. Suddenly, Do-Yun felt a gentle touch in his mind. It was no longer just simple images that Sora shared with him. Now, it was feelings, ideas, and even some words. "You're getting better at this," Do-Yun said with a smile. Sora made a pleased trilling sound and moved closer. It lifted one of its limbs and pointed at Do-Yun's computer screen. "You want to try?" Do-Yun asked, surprised. He moved aside, and Sora placed 2 of its limbs on the keyboard. To Do-Yun's amazement, the creature began to type, slowly at first, then faster. "How is this possible?" Do-Yun whispered as words appeared on the screen. "Thank you for saving me," Sora typed. Do-Yun stared at the screen, then at Sora. "You can understand our language. You can write." "Yes. Learned from Baroness." "Baroness? Who is that?" Before Sora could answer, there was a knock at the door. Do-Yun jumped up, startled. No one ever came to his research station. "Hide," he whispered to Sora, pointing to the small bedroom. Sora quickly moved to the other room. Do-hyun took a deep breath and opened the door. It was Administrator Han Yoonji. Administrator Han, Do-hyun said, trying to sound normal. This is unexpected. Han's face was serious. May I come in, Do-hyun? This is important. Do-hyun stepped aside, nervous but hiding it well. Han entered and looked around the small station. You've been missing meetings, she said. That's not like you. I've been busy with research, Do-hyun replied. Han nodded slowly. There are visitors in the colony. Important people from the galactic hegemony. Do-hyun's heart beat faster. Oh, what do they want? They're looking for something. A creature. Han watched Do-hyun's face carefully. A very special creature with 6 limbs, scales that change color, and 3 eyes. Do-hyun tried not to show any reaction, but Han knew him too well. Whatever you've done, Do-hyun, you're in danger, she said quietly. The Baroness Kim Ju-woo is here herself. Her chief enforcer is searching every building in the colony. They're offering a huge reward, but they're also making threats. Who is this Baroness? Do-hyun asked. One of the most powerful people in the hegemony, and one of the most cruel. Han stepped closer. If you know anything about this creature, tell me now. I can help you. Do-hyun hesitated. He trusted Han, but he also felt protective of Sora. Before he could decide what to say, there was a soft noise from the bedroom. Han turned toward the sound. What was that? Just some equipment, Do-hyun said quickly. But it was too late. Sora stepped into the room, its eyes fixed on Han. The administrator gasped. So it's true, she whispered. To Do-hyun's surprise, Sora moved to his side and sent him a clear feeling. Trust. It seemed Sora was telling him that Han could be trusted. I found it injured in the Eastern Valley, Do-hyun explained. It was dying. I couldn't leave it there. Han looked at Sora with wonder. Do you know what this is? It's a sentinel. There are only 5 in the whole galaxy. It's intelligent, Do-hyun said. It can communicate. It has feelings. And it can do much more than that, Han said. The hegemony uses these creatures for their mental powers. They can enhance the natural abilities of their owners. Sora made a sad sound and sent an image to Do-hyun, the Baroness, using Sora to read another person's thoughts against their will. She uses Sora as a tool, Do-hyun said, angry now. That's wrong. Han looked from Do-hyun to Sora. Finally, she nodded. I agree. But that doesn't change how dangerous this is. She moved toward the door. Her enforcer, Lee Ninjae, will be searching this area tomorrow. You need to be ready. After Han left, Do-hyun turned to Sora. We need to know more about this Baroness, he said. Can you show me? Sora placed a limb on Do-hyun's hand. Suddenly, his mind was filled with images and feelings. The cold cruelty of the Baroness, her hunger for power, and her rage when defied. Do-hyun understood now. This was no longer just about helping an injured creature. It was about protecting a friend. Morning light filtered through the trees around Do-hyun's research station. He had barely slept. After Administrator Han's warning, he and Sora had spent most of the night preparing. They packed food, water, and basic supplies. If they needed to run, they would be ready. Do you think we should leave now? Do-hyun asked Sora. The creature sent him a mental image of staying put but being alert. Sora seemed to think they had a little time. Do-hyun nodded. Okay, but at the first sign of danger, we go. In the main colony, Enforcer Lee Ninjae stood in front of 20 armed guards. They wore black uniforms with the Baroness's symbol on their chests. Lee was tall and strong, his face serious as he gave orders. We will search every building, every home, every hidden corner, he said. The sentinel is our only target. If you find it, do not approach. Call me immediately. A young guard raised his hand. Sir, what if someone is hiding it? Lee's eyes narrowed. Then they have committed a crime against the Baroness. Bring them to me. The guards spread out across the colony. People watched from windows, afraid and curious. No one had ever seen a search like this before. Administrator Han watched from her office. She had done what she could to warn Do-Yun. Now she would try to slow down the search. When Lee came to her office, Han smiled politely. "Enforcer Lee, how can I help you today?" "We need maps of the colony, including all research stations and outposts," Lee demanded. Han nodded slowly. "Of course. But our computer system is having problems today. It might take some time to get those maps." Lee frowned. "We don't have time for problems." "Administrator, I understand," Han said calmly. "I'll have my best people work on it right away." As soon as Lee left, Han sent a message to Do-Yun. "Search party heading your way. Enforcer Lee leading them. Be careful." Back at the research station, Do-Yun received the message and felt his heart race. "They're coming, Sora. We need to decide now. Stay or go." Sora looked at him with its 3 glowing eyes. It sent Do-Yun a complex series of images and feelings, hiding, waiting, then escaping when dark. "You think we should hide until night, then leave?" Do-Yun asked. Sora nodded, its scales shifting to match the colors of the room, a perfect camouflage. "That's amazing," Do-Yun whispered. "I didn't know you could do that." Sora sent him an image of hiding in plain sight. They spent the next hours preparing. Do-Yun hid their packed bags under the floorboards. He made sure his work looked normal, with plant samples and notes spread out on his desk. Sora would hide in the small storage room, where its ability to change colors would help it blend with the shadows. As the sun began to set, they heard voices outside. Men talking, boots on the ground. Do-Yun looked out the window and saw them. 5 guards walking through the trees toward his station. "They're here," he whispered to Sora. "Remember, don't make a sound." Sora squeezed his hand with one of its limbs, then moved silently into the storage room, its scales turning dark to match the shadows. A loud knock came at the door. Do-Yun took a deep breath, trying to calm his racing heart. He opened the door with what he hoped was a surprised look. "Can I help you?" he asked. 2 guards stood there. Behind them was Enforcer Lee himself, his cold eyes studying Do-Yun. "Park Do-Yun?" Lee asked. "Yes, that's me. I am Enforcer Lee Minjae, representing Baroness Kim Ju." Lee's voice was hard and sharp. "We are conducting a search of all buildings in this area." "A search? What for?" Do-Yun asked, pretending not to know. "That is not your concern," Lee said. "Step aside." Do-Yun moved back, letting the men enter. His heart pounded so loudly he was sure they could hear it. The guards began searching the small station, looking under furniture and opening cabinets. Lee walked slowly around the room, his eyes missing nothing. He stopped at Do-Yun's desk and picked up a note. "You are a plant scientist," he said. It wasn't a question. "Yes, a botanist." Lee nodded. "And you work alone out here?" "I prefer quiet for my research," Do-Yun said. Lee's eyes moved to the closed door of the storage room. He walked toward it slowly. Do-Yun felt cold fear grip his chest. Just as Lee reached for the door handle, a guard called from outside. "Sir, we found something." Lee paused, then turned away from the door. "We will continue this later," he said to Do-Yun. Then he walked outside. Do-Yun waited until they were gone, then rushed to the storage room. Sora was pressed against the wall, its scales now returning to their normal colors. "That was too close," Do-Yun whispered. "We need to leave now, while they're distracted." He sent Do-Yun a feeling of agreement. As night fell, they slipped out the back door of the research station and into the darkness of the alien forest. Deep in the forest, Do-Yun and Sora found shelter in a small cave. The night was cold, and strange sounds echoed through the trees. Do-Yun made a small fire, careful to keep it hidden from view. The orange light danced across Sora's scales, making them shine like jewels. "We should be safe here for tonight," Do-Yun said, offering Sora some fruit. Tomorrow, we need to move farther from the colony. Sora took the fruit but didn't eat. Its 3 eyes glowed with a sad blue light. It reached out and touched Do-Yun's hand with one of its limbs. Suddenly, Do-Yun's mind was filled with images and feelings stronger than any Sora had shared before. He gasped and closed his eyes, letting the memories wash over him. He saw Sora as a small creature in a white room. Scientists in long coats studied it, took samples, and made notes. He felt Sora's confusion and fear. Then he saw other creatures like Sora, but they were different colors and sizes. "There were more of you," Do-Yun whispered. The images changed. Now Sora was bigger, in a beautiful room with high ceilings and large windows. The Baroness stood nearby, her cold eyes watching as Sora was fitted with a silver collar. Do-Yun felt a sharp pain in his mind, then a strange pulling sensation. He realized he was feeling what Sora had felt, the Baroness using the creature's mental powers to reach into another person's thoughts. "She used you to read minds," Do-Yun said, his voice shaking with anger. More images came. The Baroness using Sora to scare people, to know their secrets, to control them. Sora was not a pet. It was a tool for power, a living weapon. The final image was of Sora itself, looking into a mirror. The creature in the reflection was not an animal. It was a person trapped in a strange body, aware and intelligent, with thoughts and feelings of its own. When the connection broke, Do-Yun found tears on his cheeks. "You're not just smart," he said. "You're a person, a slave." Sora nodded slowly, its eyes dimming. "They made you," Do-Yun continued, understanding more now. "The scientists created you to serve the Baroness, to make her powers stronger." Sora sent him a simple feeling of agreement, followed by an image of the tracking device Do-Yun had removed. There was a feeling attached to it, the sense of a chain being broken. "You damaged the tracker on purpose," Do-Yun realized. "You chose to escape, even though you might die." Sora made a soft trilling sound and showed Do-Yun one more image, the moment Do-Yun had found it in the valley. But from Sora's perspective, Do-Yun was glowing with a warm light, a kindness the creature had never seen before. "You trusted me," Do-Yun said quietly, "even though humans helped create you and enslave you." Sora moved closer and rested its head against Do-Yun's arm. The message was clear. Not all humans were like the Baroness. "How many others like you are there?" Do-Yun asked. Sora showed him 5 fingers, then lowered one. 4 others, still serving the Baroness, and people like her. Do-Yun shook his head. "That's wrong. No one should own another thinking being." As they sat in silence, Do-Yun thought hard about what to do next. The Baroness would never stop looking for Sora. She had too much power, too many resources. They couldn't run forever. "Can you show me more about the Baroness?" he asked. "About her weaknesses." Sora hesitated, then shared more memories. Do-Yun saw the Baroness without Sora, how much weaker her mental powers were. He saw her fear of losing status among the other leaders of the hegemony. He saw how important it was to her that no one knew she needed Sora to maintain her power. "She doesn't want people to know how much she depends on you," Do-Yun said. "That could be useful." A new plan began to form in his mind, not just to escape, but to expose the truth about the Sentinels, to show everyone that these creatures were thinking beings with rights of their own. "It won't be easy," Do-Yun said, "and it will be dangerous. But I promise you this, Sora, I will not let her take you back. You are free now, and you will stay free." Sora's eyes glowed brighter. It shared an image of itself standing tall beside Do-Yun, facing the Baroness without fear. Together, they sat by the small fire, planning their next move. Outside, the alien forest was full of sounds and shadows, and somewhere out there, the Baroness's hunters were still searching. But for the first time since escaping, Sora felt something new, hope. 3 days had passed since Do-Yun and Sora fled into the forest. The search for them had grown larger and more intense, Enforcer Lee had brought in more guards, and they calmed the wilderness day and night. In her ship above the planet, Baroness Kim Ju grew impatient. She paced the main room, her long red robes sweeping the floor. "Enough of this slow search," she said to her advisors. "I will go down to the colony myself." Her advisors looked nervous. "My lady, is that wise? These are just simple colonists." The Baroness glared at them. "My sentinel has been missing for over 2 weeks. Without it, my powers grow weaker each day. I will not wait any longer." Within an hour, the Baroness's personal shuttle landed at the colony's main square. People gathered to watch, keeping their distance. No one had ever seen someone so important up close. Administrator Han stood at the landing pad to greet the Baroness. Her face was calm, but inside she worried about Doyun. "Welcome to Terraform Colony 7, Baroness," Han said with a small bow. "We are honored by your visit." The Baroness did not smile. "I am not here for pleasantries, Administrator. I am here for what is mine." "Of course. We are doing everything we can to assist Enforcer Lee in his search." The Baroness studied Han's face. "Are you? I wonder. Call a meeting of all colonists. I wish to speak to everyone." Han had no choice but to agree. Within 2 hours, all 500 colonists stood in the main square. They whispered among themselves, nervous and curious. The Baroness stood on a raised platform, looking down at them. Her beauty was cold and sharp, like ice. "People of Terraform Colony 7, she began, her voice carrying easily across the square. "One of you has taken something that belongs to me. A valuable creature, a sentinel. It is my property, and I want it back." She paused, her eyes moving over the crowd. "I am offering a reward greater than most of you will earn in a lifetime, enough to leave this small colony and live in luxury on any planet you choose." The crowd murmured. That was a tempting offer. But the Baroness continued, "If I discover that any of you are hiding my property or helping the thief, the punishment will be severe. Not just for that person, but for this entire colony." Administrator Han stepped forward. "Baroness, most of our people know nothing about this. They are innocent." "Then they have nothing to fear," the Baroness said coldly. "But someone knows something, and I will find out who." As she spoke, her eyes moved across the crowd again. Suddenly, she stopped, her gaze fixed on someone in the back of the square. It was Doyun. He stood tall, looking directly at the Baroness. Next to him was Administrator Han's assistant, but Sora was nowhere to be seen. The Baroness felt something, a faint mental touch, a familiar presence. Her eyes narrowed. "You," she said, pointing at Doyun. "Come here." Guards moved to bring him forward. The crowd parted, watching with wide eyes as Doyun was led to the platform. "What is your name?" the Baroness demanded. "Park Doyun. I am a botanist, a plant scientist," she said. "And yet I sense something about you, something familiar." She stepped closer, studying his face. "You have been in contact with my sentinel." Doyun did not deny it. "I found an injured creature in the Eastern Valley. I helped it heal." The crowd gasped. The Baroness's face darkened with anger. "You admit it. You stole my property." "I didn't steal anything," Doyun said calmly. "I saved a living being that was hurt and dying. I didn't know it belonged to anyone." "Where is it now?" the Baroness demanded. "Where is my sentinel?" "Safe," Doyun said. "Away from you." The Baroness slapped him hard across the face. The crowd gasped again. "You dare? Do you know who I am? I could have this entire colony destroyed with a single command." Doyun touched his cheek, but didn't back down. "I know exactly who you are. Sora showed me." "Sora?" The Baroness looked confused. "That's the name I gave to the one you call your sentinel. It's a person, not a thing. It thinks and feels. It has rights." The Baroness laughed, a cold sound without joy. "Rights? It is a created being, made to serve. It is property, nothing more." No living, thinking being should be property, Do-Yun said loudly, making sure everyone could hear. Sora has its own mind, its own will. It chose to escape from you. The Baroness was furious now. Enough. Guards, take this man to my ship. He will tell us where the sentinel is, one way or another. As the guards moved toward Do-Yun, a strange feeling passed through the square. A gentle mental touch brushed against every mind present. Then Sora appeared, stepping out from behind a building. Its scales shimmered in the sunlight, changing from camouflage colors to its natural iridescent blue. All three of its eyes glowed brightly as it walked toward the platform. The crowd backed away, amazed and a little afraid. The Baroness's face showed triumph. "There you are, my pet," she said. "Come to me now." But Sora didn't go to the Baroness. Instead, it moved to stand beside Do-Yun. It placed one limb on his arm in a gesture of clear friendship. "It seems Sora has made a choice," Do-Yun said quietly. The Baroness's eyes narrowed dangerously. "It doesn't get to make choices. Sentinel, I command you to come to me now." For a moment, nothing happened. Then Sora began to tremble. The Baroness was using her mental powers, trying to force Sora to obey. Do-Yun felt Sora's pain and fear. Without thinking, he placed his hand on Sora's head. "You don't have to go," he said. "You are free to choose." The Baroness's face twisted with rage and effort. "It is mine. It will obey me." But something unexpected happened. As the Baroness pushed with her mental powers, Sora pushed back, and somehow, through their connection, Do-Yun's mind joined with Sora's. Together, they created a shield that the Baroness could not break. Her power washed over them, but could not touch them. The Baroness stumbled back, her face pale with shock. "Impossible. How are you doing this?" Do-Yun looked at her steadily, the same way humans have always faced tyrants. Together, the Baroness stared at Do-Yun and Sora in shock. No one had ever resisted her mental powers before. Her face turned from surprise to rage. "Guards," she commanded, "seize them both." The hegemony guards moved forward, weapons ready. But before they could reach Do-Yun and Sora, something unexpected happened. Colony Administrator Han stepped between them. "No," she said firmly. "This has gone far enough." The Baroness laughed coldly. "You dare stand against me? I represent the galactic hegemony." Han did not back down. "And I represent the people of this colony. People who believe in freedom and fairness." To everyone's surprise, more colonists moved forward. Men and women of all ages formed a line in front of Do-Yun and Sora. "What is this?" the Baroness demanded. "Do you all wish to be punished?" An old farmer spoke up. "We've lived under hegemony rule for many years. We follow your laws and pay your taxes. But we will not help you enslave a thinking being." "That creature is my property," the Baroness shouted. "It was created to serve me." "Created or born," said a young teacher, "it can think. It can feel." We all saw it make a choice. Enforcer Lee stepped forward. "This is rebellion. You know the punishment for that." Administrator Han nodded. "We do. But sometimes you must stand for what is right, no matter the cost." The Baroness signaled to her guards. "Take them all. We will make examples of them." The guards raised their weapons, advanced technology that the colonists could not hope to match. But the colonists did not run. Instead, more of them came forward, until hundreds stood together. They carried no weapons, only their conviction. Do-Yun felt a surge of pride and gratitude. These were his people, ordinary humans who worked the land and built their homes far from Earth. They had little, but they were willing to risk it all for what was right. "Wait," he said loudly. "No one needs to be hurt." He turned to face the crowd. "The Baroness wants Sora, because without it, her mental powers are much weaker. She fears that other members of the hegemony will discover this weakness." The Baroness's face paled. "Be silent." "Sora showed me the truth," Do-Yun continued. "The Baroness and others like her use these sentinels to control people, to read minds without permission, to force their will on others. They claim the Sentinels are just animals, just tools. But we know better. Sora moved forward, its scales glowing bright blue. It sent a gentle mental touch to everyone present, sharing a simple feeling of gratitude and friendship. Many colonists gasped as they felt Sora's mind touch theirs. They could feel its intelligence, its emotions. There was no doubt now that this was a thinking being. Enforcer Lee looked uncertain for the first time. He glanced at the Baroness, then at the colonists. The Baroness saw his hesitation. Do not be fooled. It is manipulating you, using its mental tricks. No, Do-hyun said. Sora is sharing the truth, something you have tried to hide. He turned to the colonists again. The Baroness threatened our colony. But think about what that means. If she destroys us for helping Sora, she must explain why to the Hegemony Council. She must admit that a simple creature, a mere pet as she calls it, was worth killing hundreds of humans. Administrator Han nodded, understanding. And if it's just a pet, why would that be? Unless the truth about the Sentinels became known, Do-hyun finished, that they are intelligent beings, and the Baroness and others have been using them as slaves. The Baroness trembled with fury. You know nothing of hegemony politics. Perhaps not, Do-hyun agreed. But we know right from wrong. He stepped closer to her, not afraid anymore. You have a choice, Baroness. Leave Sora here with us and return to your ship. Tell the Hegemony Council that your pet was killed by wild animals. No one will know the truth. Or, Administrator Han added, try to take Sora by force. But know that every person here will witness what happens, and we have communication links to other colonies, to Earth itself. The Baroness looked around at the hundreds of faces watching her. For the first time, she seemed uncertain. One sentinel, Do-hyun said quietly. That's all we ask. Let Sora stay here, free. For a long moment, no one moved or spoke. The Baroness looked at Sora, her face hard with anger and loss. One sentinel, she said finally. One small loss. She turned to Enforcer Lee. Prepare my shuttle. We are leaving. My lady? Lee looked confused. What about the creature? It is contaminated by these humans, she said coldly. No longer useful to me. As the Baroness walked toward her shuttle, she stopped beside Do-hyun. This is not over, she whispered. The hegemony does not forget those who defy it. Do-hyun met her gaze steadily. Neither do we. The colonists watched in silence as the Baroness and her guards boarded the shuttle. Minutes later, it rose into the sky, heading back to the orbiting ship. Only when it was out of sight did the colonists cheer. They surrounded Do-hyun and Sora, reaching out to touch them, to congratulate them. Administrator Han smiled, a rare sight. Well done, Do-hyun. But the Baroness was right about one thing. This isn't over. Do-hyun nodded. I know, but we've won today. And now the hegemony knows that humans will stand together against injustice, even for someone different from us. Sora's eyes glowed with happiness as it looked at the celebrating humans. For the first time in its life, it was not a possession or a tool. It was a friend among friends, free to choose its own path. And that was a victory worth any risk to come. 3 months passed since the Baroness left Terraform Colony 7. Life had changed for everyone, especially for Do-hyun and Sora. The colony built a special home for Sora near Do-hyun's new research station. It had large windows and open spaces where Sora could move freely. On a warm afternoon, Do-hyun and Sora sat outside, watching the twin suns begin to set. Sora's scales glowed orange and gold in the fading light. It had grown stronger and its mental abilities had developed even more. The communication system is ready, Do-hyun said. Administrator Han says we can send the message tomorrow. Sora sent him a feeling of both excitement and worry. They had spent weeks preparing a message to send to all human colonies and even to Earth itself. A message about the Sentinels and their true nature. I know it's risky, Do-hyun agreed, answering Sora's unspoken concern. But people need to know the truth. The truth was bigger than just Sora. Since gaining its freedom, Sora had revealed more about the other 4 sentinels still serving the hegemony. They were all thinking beings, all trapped in service. Administrator Han joined them, carrying a datapad. "The council has voted," she said, unanimously in favor of sending the message. Do-Yun nodded. The entire colony now stood behind them. They knew what it might mean. The hegemony could punish them all for this defiance. "We've received some interesting news," Han continued. "Our friends on Terraform 5 report that 2 members of the Hegemony Council are asking questions about the Sentinels. It seems your confrontation with the Baroness did not stay secret after all." Do-Yun smiled. "Good. The more people who know, the harder it will be for them to keep using the Sentinels as slaves." That night, as the colony slept, Sora sat awake, looking at the stars. Through its mental connection with Do-Yun, it had learned much about human history. Humans had once kept slaves too, but had grown beyond that. They were not perfect, but they could change, could learn to be better. Sora wondered if the hegemony could change too. Morning came, and the colony gathered in the main square, the same place where they had stood against the Baroness. Today, they would take another stand. Do-Yun and Administrator Han stood before the colony's most powerful communication device. It could send a message across the galaxy, to every human settlement, and back to Earth itself. "Are we ready?" Han asked. Do-Yun looked at Sora, who stood tall beside him. "We are." Sora placed a limb on the device, connecting its mind directly to the system. Together, Do-Yun and Sora had prepared not just words, but images and feelings that Sora would send with the message. The truth about the Sentinels, shown directly to millions of minds. "Sending now," Han said, activating the system. A bright beam shot up from the colony, carrying their message to the stars. There was no turning back now. Days passed, then weeks. The colony prepared for possible retribution from the hegemony. They built defenses and stored supplies, but they did not regret their decision. Then one morning, a small ship appeared in the sky. Not a hegemony warship, but a simple transport. It landed outside the colony, and a single figure stepped out. It was a woman in plain clothes, not the fine robes of the hegemony elite, but there was something familiar about her face. "My name is Kim Minji," she said when Do-Yun and Han met her. "I am the Baroness's sister." They brought her to the colony with caution, watching her carefully. But she had come alone, without weapons or guards. "Your message reached Earth," Minji told them. "It has spread throughout human space. People are asking questions that the hegemony cannot ignore." "And the other sentinels?" Do-Yun asked. Minji's face grew sad. "Still in service, but there are many now who believe they should be free, like Sora." When Sora met Minji, it approached slowly, uncertain. Minji knelt down to be at eye level with the creature. "I always knew you were more than what my sister claimed," she said softly. "I am sorry I did not help you sooner." Sora touched Minji's mind gently, sensing her honesty. Then it showed her an image. The other sentinels, free and living among those who respected them as equals. "A dream worth fighting for," Minji agreed. "And you are not fighting alone anymore." She turned to Do-Yun and Han. "The Hegemony Council is divided. Some want to punish this colony. Others want to learn more about the Sentinels. My sister's faction is losing power as more people question the ethics of what they have done." "What does this mean for us?" Han asked. "It means you have started something that cannot be stopped," Minji said. "A recognition that intelligence and personhood can exist in forms we did not create or expect. That rights belong to all thinking beings." Do-Yun looked at Sora, remembering that first day when he found it injured in the valley. He had simply wanted to help a wounded creature. He could never have imagined where that act of kindness would lead. "It will not be easy," Minji warned. "Change never is. But your human colony has shown what is possible when people stand together for what is right." That evening, the colony held a celebration. Not for victory, because the struggle was far from over. But for hope, for a future where beings like Sora could live free. As music played and people danced, Do-Yun stood with Sora at the edge of the crowd. Through their mental connection, they shared thoughts without words. They had both changed since they first met. Do-Yun had found courage he didn't know he had. Sora had found freedom it had never imagined possible. And together, they had changed their world. Not with weapons or power, but with compassion and truth. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders. And now, because one human had helped one injured creature, it would become a little more just, a little more kind. That was worth any price they might yet have to pay.